Hi, I'm Dilly MacFarlane. Welcome to the Alumni Special. Today my guest is alumna Carolyn Watt, who has an interesting job at present as a disc jockey at a local radio station. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Dilly.
Thanks for coming down today.
No problem.
Good. Tell me about your experience here at the Mount. You studied a Bachelor of Arts program, I believe.
I started out doing a Bachelor of Public Relations, and after a year I didn't really like it. No offense to the Public Relations Society and Department, but didn't really enjoy it, so I took a couple years out and came back to transfer my credits into a BA.
In what area of concentration?
It was in psychology.
I see. This is sounding very interesting, leading into a career in show business, right? Did you ever think that you would have a career that dealt with public media like that?
I always knew I wanted some sort of a field where I was dealing with the public, but I didn't know exactly what area. At one point I was looking at travel and tourism, but eventually decided that, well, after hearing about a few people who had gone into radio, I thought about it, and I thought, that might be interesting to try. But I really didn't know a lot about it. I also knew nothing about television either. So when I came back, I then came to Duet, actually did some volunteer work here and some other volunteer work too, to get a better idea about it.
So what does a disc jockey do besides spin records? How do you prepare for your stint at the microphone?
I guess it's like anything else. I compare it really very much to acting or drama or anything else. You have to get yourself mentally set to, sound happy and sound like you're enjoying what you're doing. And of course, if you enjoy it, it comes very naturally, and I do enjoy it. So, but of course, you see, the hardest part is there are times when you don't feel happy, or you don't feel like in acting, and personal emotional problems or whatever, problems of the day, you've had a bad day. All of those things, it's really hard to try and keep them out of your show, like it is when you're acting, to keep it off the stage.
So the show must go on as a reality in your life.
I guess it really is, and I never thought it related to radio before, but as I've gotten into this aspect of it, which is the DJ side of it, I've seen it's very, very similar to acting. Because before I was a DJ, I did volunteer work at CKDU at the Dalhousie radio station. And there I was involved much more so in the public affairs side of it and the technical aspect. I was an on-air controller for about a year and a half. And I also did public affairs for a year, and I was co-hosting a show called Upperly Mobile. And at that time, we didn't really have producers and people who did all of our preparation in the show for us. So we had to go out, set up interviews, find people to interview about interesting topics. They didn't have to be political or anything else. It was very soft news oriented. That, as a result, led me to get more involved with, on a one-to-one basis, dealing with people and interviewing them in the interview situation, which is so different from being a DJ, because there's yourself and the mic in your little booth. And when you're working into like I do, the all-night shift. So when you're working into the wee hours of the morning, at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, there really aren't too many people that are still awake. Doesn't matter, and it really doesn't affect your show, because you still have to sound like, you're still talking to a lot of people. But at the same time, you also have to deal with the physical aspect of it, which is getting tired and working through that. However, that's no different than a nurse or anybody else who does
except that you're all
shifts.
by yourself there.
You're all by yourself, and it's your voice you're dealing with. It's not the physical side alone. You're not just having to make it through the night. Like say, and I won't say a nurse, but say someone working in a fast food place, they just have to keep slinging their burgers.
Right.
That's a physical thing, but they don't have to talk to anybody or deal with public and I'm not dealing with...
I would think that would be sort of an upside to your job. For instance, what do you wear to work, Carol, in The Truth now? That beautiful, sultry voice behind the microphone. Is it in a beautiful three-piece suit with the bow-necked blouse and a little pin?
Definitely, Dilly. What would you do?
I think I'd wear my sweatsuit.
That's what I wear. I wear my Stan Smith sneakers and whichever sweatshirt I feel like wearing for that night. And of course, I take out my contact lenses and slap on my glasses, and
get comfortable.
I just I have to be comfortable because you're sitting for most of the time. I often have to get up and walk around, you know, to keep
Yeah, well,
awake.
what happens, I mean, not to be indelicate, Carolyn, but what if you have to leave the microphone for a few minutes? How do you cope with that sort of contingency arrangement?
Well, the thing is, we have commercial-free sweeps on CJCH. It's like 57 minutes. Like overnight for me, it's 57 minutes commercial-free. Favorites from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Get in there. That sounds great.
And as a result, it doesn't mean that they're all sweeping themselves. I have to sit there at the end of a 4-minute song and put the next song on. However, I have 4 minutes. And it's amazing how accurate your timing can become. You learn that 1 minute is time enough to go downstairs, go get a drink, and get back up. Or, you know, judging about 2 minutes to go to the bathroom and get back. You can do it 2.5 minutes. So people who really like to spend a lot of time in the bathroom, well, DJing is not the job for them.
what kind of when I'm thinking of disasters, catastrophes, what would be the worst thing that could happen to you in your job?
I would have to say...
That you forget the mic is on at one point, maybe?
That is probably the worst thing.
Has that happened?
One of the worst things. No, you see, the danger is having the mic on with the pot up, right? Because you can have your mic on and the on-air light's flashing, but if your volume level's not up, there's no sound coming over the air. So it doesn't matter. But if your pot is up, then you can be in trouble. But of course, having been a technician at Dell, learned all of these other technical things, so those kind of mistakes are not the ones I'm more inclined to make, like someone who had no experience on a board. But the other problem is staying awake. I have only fallen asleep once.
What brought you around, Carolyn?
You woke
up.
I woke up
in time to save the day.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a long, like it was taped things that I was playing.
So you weren't actually drooling and snoring.
No, nothing like that, and it wasn't a long period of time at all.
That's great. Do you get requests? Do people phone you in?
They do. They phone in requests.
Do you ever get anyone calling in, play Misty for me? Did you see that movie, by the way?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's a thriller. You've got to see that one.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's about a disc jockey that works all night.
Is it?
I won't tell you anything more because you're going to enjoy seeing it. Scare the pants off you, but you'll like it.
Oh, no.
But I just wondered, that must be interesting, talking to people in the middle of the night.
Well, you see, that's what you feed on, really, to keep you awake. Because people give you ideas of what they're doing at that time, and you can always incorporate it into your show.
What are some of the things that people do in the middle of the night when they're listening to your show?
Do you really want to know?
Well, what sort of, I suppose you get people like taxi drivers or people that work night shifts?
The people who would be closest to their phones would be the ones who are working in a fast food restaurant or a pizza joint or whatever. People who are at home with friends or sitting around reading a book with girlfriends or boyfriends. But mostly it's just people who are coming in the door.
Do you have regular callers, people that call you on a regular basis?
Yeah, you do. It gets a little difficult too sometimes because you have to
keep with your program. I suppose.
Your show is your priority, and you can't get on the phone talking to these people. And you know what the biggest problem is? These people feel that they know you.
Right.
But they don't. They're just. I mean, it's nice to talk to them oftentimes, but there are times when they talk to you as if they know exactly who you are and what you're all about, and they don't.
I haven't heard your show, but that's not to say
Dilly.
I'm going to go home this weekend. I'm going to make a point of listening to it. I might even phone in a request.
Okay, you
but
call me.
I wanted to know if anybody has ever recognized you from your voice. They have.
Yeah, I've had people call me and they go, "Is that the Carolyn Watt I went to high school with?" And I say, yes, yeah, sure, it's me. Or they say, "Oh yeah, you're the sister of my brother's friend," or something like this.
Well, that must be nice. It must make you feel
it has been interesting because.
Well, what happens next, Carolyn? You're probably going to be wanting to do more. I think I probably see something in your eye that tells me that this is probably not going to be the end of the road with your broadcasting career. What would you like to do?
At the moment, I'm only working part-time at the radio station because I work as a waitress too during the day.
It sounds like the classic starlet syndrome where you get in there and do what you have to do in the show business end of things, and then you do other things to help out until you get really firmly established.
Well, that's it. Also, it's like, the way I look at it is it's like an apprenticeship. I mean, any job, in order to determine whether you like it or, new ways of doing different things. You have to be in the business for a number of years first just to get your feet wet, like a rookie, greenhorn. That's what you are in your first couple of years. That's what I term this time as, and I expect to, 2 years anyway, doing what I do, even on a part-time basis. I would like to do it on a full-time basis, and the sooner I get full-time, the sooner I suppose I can experiment more fully, because it's like a pilot and flying time, right? He has to clock so many hours before he's an official pilot.
Yes.
I think radio work has a lot to do with that too.
What about other aspects of radio? Like, what about the broadcasting journalism sort of thing? The kind of you had mentioned that you had done something along that line when you were working with CKDU as a volunteer. Does that interest you? I mean, do you want to be Vicky Gaboreau or Barbara Frum of the radio set? Or?
I don't know, really, Dilly. I'm interested in doing more things along that line, but I don't think I could ever see myself as Barbara Frum, simply because journalism was never my forte. Writing is not really where my interest lies, but doing other things like on the less political issues. You see, I'm not really that politically oriented like Barbara Frum and some of these other people are. So I think I'd be more interested in the soft news, more community things, and just stories of interest, general interest, versus general political, conflict or controversy.
How do you cope with it with the night hours? How do you sort of function as a 9 to 5 person? Monday to Friday, and then turn into a wild, wicked night animal on the weekends?
I feel it's like jet lag. A person, they go all weekend doing the nights. It's 2 nights, sometimes for me it's 3. You go through your transition day, you sleep till maybe 7 hours. That would be on my Sunday. I get up around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I'm up until at least midnight or 1 that night, and then I'm fine. I can sleep till 8 the next morning, and then it goes through the transition. And my body adapts. I've always had a very flexible sleeping habits. I've been fortunate because I don't think I could handle it if I couldn't sleep in a day, for instance.
The reason I mention that is that I'm thinking that in a career situation that would be very difficult to sustain over. Of course, you're just a kid too. That would help, I suppose. Kids are used to staying up all night.
I'm not a child anymore.
What about your personal goals, Carolyn? What would you like to do in the next, say, 5 years? I'm just thinking of you as a graduate of the class of '87. What do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years personally?
I can see myself continuing to work in radio, hopefully more on a full-time basis. Maybe branching into another area of radio. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll stay as a DJ all this time, but I'd like to investigate, some of the other areas and try them on a full-time basis, because as I've mentioned before, working in public affairs was sort of a part-time thing, 1 day a week. So I really don't know once again, if public affairs is where I want to be.
Well, it'll be interesting to find out. Carolyn, thanks a lot for coming down today. I really enjoyed talking to you about your work at the radio station. And I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime. Keep in touch.
Anytime.
And I'll be calling in. Folks, I hope will be listening to Carolyn on 92 CJCH from midnight until 7 in the morning on Friday night, or Saturday morning, and from 1 in the morning till 7 in the morning on Sunday. And to my viewers, I'll say goodbye for now. It's me, Dilly MacFarlane, hoping that you'll join me again next time for the Alumni Special.